Welcome back to the Dargslan series, part 8 of 24, and today we're going to stop repeating ourselves. If you've been pasting the same system prompt into every chat, there's a better way. A model file lets you bake your settings and your assistant's persona into a reusable model. Then it's just one command, Ollama create, and your custom assistant is ready whenever you need it. So why bother wrapping things up in a model file? 4 concrete payoffs. You stop retyping system prompts. The persona loads automatically every time you run the model. Your parameters stay consistent, so temperature and stop tokens don't drift between sessions. You can spin up multiple assistants, my coder, my translator, my writer, all sharing one base like Llama 3.1.8b, so you're not burning extra disk. And because a model file is just plain text, you commit it to Git and share it with your team. Reproducible AI, no guesswork. Now let's look at what actually goes inside one. 4 directives carry almost all the weight. From Pix Your Base Model, Llama 3.1.8b, Mistral, whatever you've already pulled. System is your standing instruction, the persona that loads with every chat. Parameter tunes inference knobs like temperature, and template reshapes the prompt structure itself. You'll rarely touch it since the base model usually ships with a sensible default. So let's build one. Open any editor, save the file as Modelfile, and start with from pointing at Llama 3.1.8b. The system block here turns it into a senior Python developer. Code first, prose second, type hints, no disclaimers. Then we drop temperature to 0.2 for deterministic code, bump the context to 8K, and set a stop token so the model knows where to halt. That's the whole assistant, a dozen lines of plain text. With the model file saved, one command bakes it into a real model, Ollama create PyCoder, pointing at the file with F. It transfers the layers, writes a manifest, and a few seconds later you've got PyCoder registered alongside everything else. From there it's just Ollama run PyCoder. Same interface as any stock model, except now every session starts already specialized. No system prompt to paste, no parameters to remember. Speaking of parameters worth remembering, these 8 cover almost every real tuning need. Temperature controls randomness, numCTX sets how much the model can see at once, and numPredict caps the response length. Top K and top P shape sampling. Repeat. Penalty discourages loops. Stop strings cut generation cleanly at markers like user, and seed gives you reproducible output when you need to debug. Everything else in the Ollama docs exists for a reason, but you can safely ignore it until that reason finds you. Let's put those parameters to work in our first real recipe, a Python coding assistant. We start from Qwen 2.5 coder at 7 billion parameters, then bake in a system prompt that demands type hints, doc strings, and 0 apologetic filler. Temperature drops to 0.2 for deterministic repeatable code, and we bump the context window to 8,000 tokens so it can hold a decent file in memory. Save this as a model file and you've got a senior Python dev on call forever. Next up, a bidirectional Hungarian English translator. We swap to plain Qwen 2.5 here because it handles Hungarian morphology surprisingly well, and the system prompt tells it to auto-detect the input language and flip to the other. No preamble, no apologies, just the translation. Temperature sits at 0.3, low enough for fidelity, but with just enough wiggle room to pick natural idiomatic equivalents instead of stiff word-for-word renderings. Recipe 3 is the editor I reach for after midnight when my own prose has gone soft. Back to Llama 3.1.8b, with a system prompt that's really just a style guide. Kill the filler, prefer active voice, keep the author's voice intact, and output only the rewrite, no chatty preamble. Temperature bumps up to 0.7 here, because editing benefits from a bit of creative range when picking sharper word choices. Once you've baked a few of these, managing them is refreshingly boring, and that's the point. Your custom models show up right next to the official ones in Ollama list, so PyCoder and HuN sit alongside Llama 3.1 like they've always belonged there. If you ever forget what's inside one, Ollama show with the Modelfile flag prints the recipe back at you, and Ollama RM cleans it up when you're done. Same commands, same workflow, no special cases. And here's where things get genuinely powerful. Since model files are just plain text, they belong in Git like any other piece of code. Drop them all in one folder, PyCoder, HUN, editor, a README to explain the lineup, then git init and commit. From that point on, you've got branches, pull request reviews, and full history on every prompt tweak. When you edit one, just rerun Ollama create against the file and the new version is live. Before you start sharing those model files around, let me save you some debugging time with 5 traps I've hit personally. Cranking num-ctext past what the model actually supports. Always check Ollama show first, because older models still cap at 4096. Forgetting triple quotes on a multi-line system prompt. Single quotes die at the first new line. Temperature above 0.3 on a coding assistant, which turns deterministic output into a coin flip. Pointing from at a model you never pulled. And the classic, editing the model file but forgetting to rerun Ollama create, so you keep testing the old behavior and wondering why nothing changed. With the gotchas behind us, here's a menu to actually put this knowledge to work. 9 concrete model files I genuinely built for myself, a Linux help that returns a command plus 1 line of context, a regex builder that turns English into patterns, a JSON extract that cleans messy text, plus coaches for Git, SQL, email, study, and code review. Don't try to build all 9. Pick 2 or 3 tonight, live with them all week, and let real usage tell you what to tweak. Before you start building, let's lock in what matters. 3 directives carry almost everything from, system, and parameter. 1 model file plus a new name gives you a brand new persona from the same base. Match temperature to the job, low for code, higher for brainstorming. Use triple quotes for any multi-line prompt. That single fix solves most day 1 breakage. And treat these files like the code they are. Commit them, diff them, share them. Here's the page worth bookmarking. Every directive, parameter, and command we've touched on in one place. The left column covers structure and tuning, from and parameter, with sensible temperature anchors and context sizing. The right side is where you live day to day. System for personality, then create, show, run an RM to manage your custom models. Print it, pin it, and you've got the whole workflow at a glance. And that wraps part 8. Your custom assistants are baked, shareable, and ready to run. Next time, we step beyond the CLI. Ollama exposes an HTTP API on localhost port 11434, which means everything you've built so far becomes callable from Python, Bash, or any app you can imagine. That's where local AI stops being a terminal trick and starts powering real software. See you in part 9.